Welcome to Workday Benefits Enrollment Event Processing. In this session, we'll discuss how to process enrollment events in Workday. Whether you're processing an enrollment event because of a job change or a personal change like marriage, divorce, birth, or adoption, every event type has an initiation. The initiation of an event can be manual, meaning that an employee or benefits partner initiates a benefit change in Workday. Automatic, meaning that the benefit change initiates because of another process like hire or termination, or initiated because of a mass process like open enrollment. Since there are several different event types that can occur, it's common to have more than one event in the system for the same employee. Let's review an example of benefit event processing. In this diagram, we'll illustrate how an HR process, specifically hiring an employee, can automatically initiate the change benefits event. Once the hire business process reaches the change benefits for life event sub-process step in the workflow, an enrollment task routes to the new employees to make their elections. When the employee submits their enrollment, Workday determines if evidence of insurability, or EOI, is necessary. If no, then the event finalizes. If yes, EOI is necessary, then the overall process finalizes while the system begins EOI processing. Your administrators will define what happens while the EOI is pending. When processing benefit events, there are some configuration options that impact the steps and the people involved in the overall workflow. For example, when an employee initiates a benefit change transaction, Workday creates an event. At this point, the employee has not made any election changes. The system has just initiated the first step of the process. Next, your company may require an optional step for a benefits partner to review and approve the event. If they approve, the next step of the process routes to either the employee or to a partner, depending on your configurations. In this step of the workflow, we enter the event details, such as the event dates, dependents, and election changes. Consider this real-world example. If an employee got married and wants to add their spouse to their benefits, they would first initiate the benefit change process. Then, once the partner approves the event, the employee can enter their new spouse's information as a dependent and change their healthcare, insurance, or any other applicable additional benefits plans. When complete, they submit the new elections. Again, depending on your administrator's configurations, there may be another optional approval step that routes to a partner before any benefit election changes go into effect. But what happens if the employee initiates the change benefit event process but never actually submits their elections? In this case, the event remains open and the election changes don't go into effect. The benefits partner closes the event using the Finalize Open Benefit Event task in Workday. From the Finalize Open Benefit Event task, you can apply defaults and close the event without any additional election changes. Keep in mind that this functionality depends on your company's benefit policies and system configurations. It's important to note that elections aren't related to the employee. Instead, they're related to the event. Consider this example. The last event for an employee was open enrollment, where they made healthcare, insurance, spending account, and beneficiary election changes. Their coverage target is for employee plus one dependent, which is their spouse. Then the employee has a mid-year life change. They have a baby. As a result, either the employee themselves or their benefit partner initiates a change benefits process. This creates a new event and opens certain coverage types that the employee can make election changes to. Now their coverage target is for employee plus family. Anything that changes during this mid-year event now has a new coverage begin date and deduction begin date. Anything that remains the same after this life event process continues to reflect the original coverage and deduction begin dates from the open enrollment event. As a benefits partner, there are some great reports to be familiar with. Workday also allows us to enter and track wellness information. When an employee enters a new dependent, beneficiary, or emergency contact, they can identify the entry as one of several possible relationships set up by the benefits administrator. If the relationship the employee selects is one that your company includes for wellness tracking, then you can track participation and wellness scores for that relationship. Now let's demonstrate how to process and complete multiple enrollment events in Workday. Meet Maria Cardoza, a benefits partner. In this demonstration, a worker has submitted a dependent change event. Maria needs to review and approve the event. Next, Maria needs to update wellness data for a worker. Additionally, Maria was notified that a worker recently had a child, so Maria will initiate a benefit change event for the worker. Lastly, another worker recently got married and needs to add a new spouse as a dependent. Maria will initiate the change benefits task for the worker. Next, signed in as Maria, Kai will demonstrate how Maria processes each event in Workday.
To begin, a worker has submitted a dependent change event. The change benefits for life event routes an approval step to the benefits partner, so I'll sign in as Maria Cardoza to review and approve. From Maria's My Tasks, I'll select the benefit event for John Chen. As I review this page, I'll make note of a few details. First, John must submit his elections 30 days after the event date, which is next Monday. Also, this page informs me that John doesn't have any other open events. I'll approve the task. John Chen is up next in the process workflow. This next step is where John makes any applicable benefit election changes. Next, Maria needs to submit a few benefit events for other employees. In the search bar, I'll navigate to an employee, Jamie Stone. I want to update Jamie's wellness data. From Jamie's related action, I'll select benefits, then change wellness data. I want to indicate that Jamie participates in the wellness program, so I'll select the checkbox. I'll also enter today as the effective date. I don't have a current wellness score, so I'll leave the rest of this information clear and select OK to continue. Next, I'll initiate an event for Victoria Evans. Victoria recently had a child, so I'll start a benefit change event. I'll navigate to Victoria's worker object, then select the related actions. From the Benefits menu, I'll select Change Benefits. On the initiation page, I'll select a change reason and then select the benefit event date. The event date in this example is the child's birth date. Victoria has 30 days from the event date to change benefit elections. I'll submit the event. The confirmation window displays with a review button because Maria is the benefits partner and the review step routes to her for action. I'll select Review. I'll review the information, then select Approve. I have one last event to enter as the benefits partner, so I'll navigate to Jordan Shia. Jordan just got married, so he'll add a new spouse as a dependent. From Jordan's actions, I'll initiate the Change Benefits task. Next, I'll select a reason and enter last Saturday as the event date. I'll submit the initiation step. Then, I'll select the Review button to act as the benefits partner. As I review this page, I'll note the message that displays in the supporting information section. Jordan doesn't have any other benefit events in progress. I'll approve this task. Jordan Shia is up next in the workflow.
In this session, we've reviewed and demonstrated how to process enrollment events in Workday. Thank you for taking the time to learn with Workday.